All right, geometry, you had to expect it at some point, but this week is mostly going to be the week of us looking at vocabulary. Now, there is a little bit of math involved, but the focus of this week is mainly on remembering some of the big concepts that we learned about in geometry that you might not have seen as much before you got to this class. Now, the first couple of things, I'm hoping you remember seeing these all the time. And that's complementary and supplementary angles. Complementary angles, you are supposed to remember, add up to 90 degrees. If two angles are adjacent, meaning that they touch each other, and are complementary, they'll always form a 90-degree right angle. If two angles are directly beside each other, that means they're adjacent, and they are supplementary, which means they add up to 180 degrees, they will together always form a line. Now that pair actually had its own name. It's called a linear pair. So anytime we have a linear pair, we know that the two angles add up to 180 degrees. So complementary adds up to 90, supplementary adds up to 180. Now the one term we learned about in this section was vertical angles. More than likely, that was a new term for you. But we ended up using vertical angles throughout the entire curriculum. Vertical angles are angles that are directly across from each other when lines intersect. The example here shows four angles named 3, 4, 5, and 6. Notice how angles 3 and 6 are across from each other, and angles 4 and 5 are across from each other. That's why they are vertical angles. We learned that vertical angles, they don't add up to something in particular, but they are congruent, which means, of course, that they are equal in measure. So using those terms, we're going to solve some questions. The truth is, in this skill, you're not likely going to see any question that's a lot harder than another question. You just have to find the key word and do the math that might need to be done. So for the first one, I'm told I have an angle that's 38 degrees. It wants the complementary angle. I just need to know that complementary means 90. So 38 plus what equals 90? And then from there you do some subtracting. Subtract the 38 and we know that this missing value is going to be 52 degrees. Now the truth is here, guys, I'm going to just work out a bunch of these questions with you as long as they're different. So the next question is very similar. The only difference is instead of complementary, they use the word supplementary. So I know that 156 plus something has to equal 180. So when I subtract to find the missing angle measure, it's going to be 24 degrees. We'll type in 24 and move to the next one. Notice that this is a diagram of two angles directly across from each other. You're supposed to remember that those are called vertical angles. And vertical angles are always congruent. So there's no math to do on this problem. I know that K equals 71. Here's another question where they ask about complementary. So we just subtract from 90 to find that one. Here's another vertical angles question. I know they are equal. There's another vertical angles question. so I know that those two are equal. So you can see that it doesn't take long to get that SMART score up pretty high. Let's see what they do to give us questions that are a little bit more challenging. So this time we're given two angles that are beside each other, forming a line. I should know that that's called a linear pair. And because it's a linear pair, I know that they add up to 180. The only thing that really makes this question even a little bit more difficult is they've thrown in a decimal. But if you have your calculator handy, it really shouldn't be that bad. You'll take 180 and subtract the angle that's given. That's going to give us a missing angle measure of 45.9. And you can see from here, none of the other questions are really that different. They just might give you some decimals to try to challenge you. So overall, guys, that's all you need for this skill. We got 2 more left. I'll see you in the next video.